Hey everyone, good evening if you're in the States, good afternoon if you're in Australia. Amy Ruth is going to be joining us. I'm drinking tea since it's a little late for coffee. Bring Amy on. Brandy should be on any moment.
Hey,
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. It's nice to be face to face with you again.
I know. I'm just going to move it back a bit because I feel like my head is taking up the whole screen.
I know that's how I always feel too, because I'm just like, hey guys.
Yeah, like let me get right in there. I'm drinking
Mm-hmm.
tea as well because I already had a morning coffee.
You know, I'm a one coffee kind of girl too. Anything
Yeah.
more than that, it's just too much. Oh,
Mm.
there's Brandy. Sweet. Let's get her on.
I love hanging with you girls. I'm in your future.
Yeah, I know. It's so weird that it's tomorrow where you are.
Yeah, I know.
From the
Hello.
future.
Hey, Brandy.
Hello.
Let me just turn these up. There we go.
What's up? What's up?
Hello, everybody. As you're hopping on, we would love to know anything that you want to tell us about your design, because we like to know who's watching. Probably quite a few people hopping on. Amy's from the future. If you're here in the States, then Amy's from the future. It's Monday.
What's the
Yes.
future like, Amy?
Well, the weekend, I don't know. The weekend's done and dusted. Mondays don't really count for me. It's like a day where I just pretend it doesn't exist. And then like the week starts Tuesday for me. But no, it's nice here in the future. But you girls, it's like Sunday night there, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm like trying to get, normally Sunday nights I feel like I'm winding down and I'm like, turning off. But I feel like today's kind of been the opposite because I was up way too late last night and it took me up until now to really feel like a real human. So I'm like, oh, I'm like supercharged right now. Let's go.
I just finished a 5-hour hair marathon. So I did hair for 15 years and then I retired from it. But I had all these friends that were like, want my hair done. So I just like looped them through. We just did like 8 people's hair and like all cuts, colors, everything. So.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. How's the sacral energy? I'm like, dying inside. I'm like,
oh, no, it's great. And I went to Ecstatic Sunday this morning at Inner Space and then did hair and then did this. And one of them said, it's a good thing that you enjoy doing all of those things because you probably will have the energy until you're done. And I'll be one satisfied generator after this tonight.
yeah.
Let's see, I can feel your satisfaction from here.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, she is lit.
Yeah, you're like, you got on like, hey.
Yeah.
I'm like, I need to get on your level real quick.
Yeah. I feel like I just always have no energy. Like mum life, especially with a baby, it's just like, I'm just like running on, I don't know, like the fumes, like just running on life, like trying to grasp energy all of the time because both my kids are non-sacral as well. So
Yeah.
So
great segue into what we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah.
With that, 4426 there, just in action. So for those of you that are joining us tonight, if you didn't catch the topic tonight, it is parenting and nurturing your child's design. And Amy just does such a fantastic job of not only doing that, but sharing about it. She has a manifestor child, which I fucking love watching you parent him. It's like my favorite thing. I think it should just be an entire series of its own. Like watching you interact with him and honoring his authority and teaching him and instilling that is just so incredible. I mean, I like your projector baby is adorable as well.
Yeah, but he's all right.
He He's all right.
He's kind of boring. No, he's all right.
Compared to the manifest child, it's just you're parenting him in a way that goes against so much of what society says that we should do, and it's so refreshing to watch.
Yeah, that's how it all started, you know, like I spent thousands on sleep training things, and this was in, like, I started raising him by his design at 8 months old. So within the space of him being born and 8 months, I spent thousands on these, like, you know, like sleep training books, routines, like, you know, they got to do this at this time and all of that crap, and nothing, like, just nothing, anything that the book said would work, just complete opposite or didn't work. And then I was always thinking, like, is it me or is it him? And then I was like, hang on, it's the book. It's like, but the first was like, no, it's me, my parenting's broken or my baby's broken. But yeah, when you realize a lot of those books are written for the generator type, it's like this penny drop moment of like, that's why none of that worked. Yeah, a lot of money down the drain, and a lot of just like psychological energy too. You know, like, just like, what am I doing wrong? How come this doesn't work? What's happening here? Because, like, from the get-go, he had a mind of his own, and they all do have a mind of their own. But I mean, this kid walked at 9 months old, and he was out the front door, no joke, like worked out the door handles and was out the front door. And I'm like, what do I do with this child? Like, yeah, but he's incredible. And he really has changed my whole, like, I understood from a human design perspective, the manifestation culture and all of that stuff. But actually living with a manifestor and being, like, initiated daily, it just changed my whole view on it, and my whole, like, oh, that's what this is about. That's how manifestation actually works. Yeah. Yeah.
What was your biggest aha moment? So you said when he was 8 months old, you started kind of raising him as, when you had the awareness that he was a manifester. What did you see click? Like, when you just, was it learning about his type? I mean, like, what clicked for you the most? Like, and then
our auras is what was the major, like, because I was diagnosed postnatal depression, actually postnatal anxiety it was diagnosed as, because it wasn't like a depressive state, but there was like this, there was this anxious, like, I feel like I could connect to him, like he was my baby, but there was this, it was almost like there was him and me, and not like you hear all this, like, you know, like the 4th trimester, and it's nice, and it's like mum and bubs, and it's like there was always just like me trying to get in, and him just like this baby, and it was like my aura couldn't penetrate his. And learning about that, I was like, oh, he's got a closed aura. You know, he moves through the world and things move, or he bumps into them, basically. And I was the person he was bumping into the most. And I was the one trying to, like, penetrate, poke him, like just poking his aura the most. And I was angry, like, all the time angry. And my partner's like, you were never angry before. Now you're, like, ragey. And I'm like, I'm probably amplifying this kid's anger because no one understands him. He's angry. I'm super angry. So, yeah, I think it was definitely learning about the closed aura of the manifestor, I think. Yeah.
Did you notice a difference with your husband being a generator with his aura and how he interacted with your manifestor baby?
Yeah, completely. My hubby is one of those freaks who just knows nothing about design but lives it. Like, he has always been in response to his sacral. He is like, yes, no. Oh, my gut doesn't feel right. He's always just been in alignment. I'm like, how do you do that? You know nothing about human design. But yeah, his interactions with him from the get-go were just different. He didn't have that. It's almost like he didn't make him angry, and I made him angry. And I can understand now why, because I was always poking him. Like, imagine someone always just poking you, like, you get pissed off pretty quick. And he was just more in response to him. Yeah, so Jed would come along and, you know, as a baby, want dad to do something, and dad was just this big, like, open, enveloping aura in response. And I was the one sort of, like, you know, trying to, like, poke and guide and this and that, and it's got to go this way, and his routine has to be like this. And yeah, intense.
So was it vastly different with your projector baby? Because you guys have the same aura. What notice or differences did you notice?
Yeah, so like I guess by like society's definition, I wouldn't have been diagnosed because I didn't obviously. Once I found out about Jed being a manifester, I didn't sit with that diagnosis. I didn't do anything with it. I made sense of it myself. But like, you know, if you didn't know anything about human design, when I've had this projector baby, there's this resonance there. And it's like, I wouldn't have been diagnosed with anything. I wouldn't have been labeled with any sort of postnatal anything because there was this instant resonance. And you can feel him penetrating, and I can feel myself. Like I can feel it. Yeah, it's just, I can feel the aura. It's so different as opposed to bumping up against the manifestor all the time. The projector's more, yeah, it's such an inviting, between us, it's such an inviting sort of thing. Yeah, and he's incredible too. You watch him like super focus on people and he just zooms in and just like fully focused. And people are like, oh, he's really looking, isn't he? Like, yeah, he's like actually looking into your soul. Like he's not just looking. Yeah, funny. And I watched the interaction between the two of them too. So Jed's got awareness, but he's got like the manifestor's got awareness, but he's got no. It's like if he wants to move, he moves, and you'll bowl him over. He just like, you know, it doesn't matter. Get out of my way, sort of thing. Whereas the baby, even though he's 10 months old, he's got this he's splenic too, I guess. So he's got this like spatial awareness around him that Jed just never had. Yeah, and it's not right or wrong. Like it's just the way they are. It's just, yeah.
What are the profiles of your children?
The projector's a 2-4, and Jetty boy, the manifestor, is a 4-6.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so we have that resonance there. Like he's always talking about like, I won't be your friend if you do that. Like it's instant. It's instant. Like, I'll cut you off from my network. Like you're not going to be my friend. I'm not going to play with you. And I'm like, well, I'm not. You're not my friend either. Like I just give it back. But yeah, it's like this instant. Like I will cut you off from my network if you're going to rock my boat, sort of thing.
It's really interesting today. I had a friend come into town and she has a 3-year-old and her 3-year-old's a 4-6 emotional generator. And I don't see her often. So she has like a teddy bear with my face on it. So she knows who I am. And so she's like always warm with me, but she like instantly was like next to me. And then she came to my house and my mom was here and my mom's a 4-6. And then she instantly like went to my mom. And I was like, well, I told her, I said, that's my mom. And then there was like this recognition. And then she like wanted to hang out with my mom, who's also 4-6. So there's this 4-6 resonance. But then she's like, oh, this other fourth line that's in her network. It's safe. It was just interesting watching all of it play out. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like the 2-4, like I never really, I mean, I always understand things to a textbook level, or like what I can listen to in lectures. But once you observe something, you're like, oh, like when you're actually watching it in real life. And, you know, these kids, when they're raised from the moment of their birth by design, there's no conditioning. It's just, you're just watching them actually living their design purely. And it's just like, I watch him just toddle off because he's had enough of everybody, you know, but then I watch that fourth line come out in him and want to interact and be around people. So yeah, it'll be really interesting as he gets older because my hubby's 4-6 as well. So we've got 3 4-6s and then the 2-4.
Wow.
Yeah. And one of every type except like, yeah, obviously we don't have a reflector.
Yeah. Way cool. Just, so it's so fascinating understanding children. Cause like I mentioned, like, this is why we do human design. Like for us as adults, it's like, oh, we have this deconditioning, and this awareness that we have with children is to not condition them, you know? And it's like letting them be how they are in the world and honoring that. And then it's quite a lot of work, especially when you have awareness of design and you're with people who don't, and they're seeing how you parent your child. And then there's like kickback from the outer, you know?
Yeah.
Well, especially with Jed. Probably.
Yeah, heaps. More so with more so now with the baby because he's cold thirst.
Yeah.
And the natural inkling is to like heat everything up for him. And when he goes to stay at Granny's, I'm like, oh, here's his cold bottles, you know. And she's like, oh, just whack him in the microwave for him. I'm like, no, don't. But it's just like that. I think that's the hardest part at the moment with the baby, is just advocating for him. Like, actually, just keep it cold. Like, just give him cold water. Just let him eat the food cold. Or if you're going to cook him something, put it in the fridge to cool it down. Or, and they just don't understand. Yeah, because they're from like that generation that's like, you know, babies must have nice, warm, mushy foods and milk and all of the things. But yeah, there was that. And then like with Jed, he literally, so like, you know, with a manifested kid, it's like we want them to inform and be able to sort of like run the show and initiate, but also you can't have a 3-year-old climbing up in the cupboards grabbing knives because he wants to cut up a lemon because Blippi's cutting up a lemon on the TV. Like, that's what happened this morning. And I'm like saying to him, mate, like you can't just go out and grab a knife. You have to ask. You've got to ask, Mum. And I guess people watching from the outside would like see this kid just running the show, but we give him parameters to run the show in. So it'll be like, you know, here's my boundaries. You can do whatever you want within this boundary because I know this is safe. Yeah, but giving him enough autonomy to do and be and say whatever he wants to. Yeah, I think it's sort of, people sort of look a bit funny at us like, what the, but yeah, the biggest lesson with him has been he's emotionally defiant. So he's an emotional manifester.
What's his channel?
What's his what?
What's his channel? Is it 1222?
No.
Oh, is it transitory?
Yeah, like that was that quote, like live life forwards and reflect on it backwards, or yeah, he's the epitome of this. So yeah, he's transitory, 35, 36, and it's all he's got. He's just throat, emotion, one channel. That's it. And it's like there's his whole, it's who he is. But the rest of us are emotionally undefined. So we were sort of like, my partner and I just like coasting along, you know, like hiding our emotions under the carpet. Everything was fine. And then like, you know, like avoidant emotional behavior. And then he was born and there was no hiding our emotions. Like he's such a gift to us. Because yeah, it's like we've had to learn as adults because of this baby, this toddler, to deal with our own emotions again, because we just didn't have to. So
he's like running the show in a lot of ways, you know. You got this emotionally defined manifester, and it's like, whoa. So not having awareness of his design or your design or any of that could create a lot. That could feel like chaotic and hectic, you know, struggling a lot.
Yeah, for a long time it was just sort of like, and because if he wants something, like he gets on an emotional high and he wants something, he's going for it. It's like a bulldozer with the accelerator just foot flat to the floor. He's going. So there's this constant not pulling him back, but it's kind of like this. I use like teachable moments. Like I don't teach him about design. I just use teachable moments to say to him, you know, like sometimes we have to wait for things we really want, or like we got him a money box because like just teaching him to save, and that we can't just get everything you want all of the time. Yeah, super. That's probably been the hardest part. Like if I take him to a shop and he wants something, like it's full meltdown. Like there's a full meltdown about it because you've got an emotional manifester like on a wave who wants something. But like I've learned so much from Teresa, like just the way that Teresa is with like her emotional wave, and just like the way that you explain it, like listening to adults living their design actually helps me like raise my child this way, like because I don't have that wave.
Yeah. I know she's incredible to learn about the emotional process. Like yeah.
I mean, I wish I would have known this stuff as a kid, but you know, I didn't need to. But I can definitely resonate with like having the meltdowns, and then the parents that both my parents are emotional, but they were not very connected to their emotions. So it was just like, I come in like a bomb And they're like, whoa.
Yeah, that's what it's like. He wanted to go to mini golf the other day, and we were like, yeah, let's go to mini golf. Great idea. This is what happens in our life. He's like, I want to do this. And then like I look at my partner, if he looks lit, I'm like, let's make it happen. So we go to mini golf, and we didn't check, like classic lesson for me, check if it's open before you get there. So we get there and mini golf is closed, and there's this kid on the gates, like rattling the gates, screaming like, open up. And then he's like bawling, and I'm trying to say like, oh mate, mum should have checked, like mini golf is not open. And he's having an emotional meltdown, and a family member that was with us was trying to like shush it and like, it's okay, like shh, we'll go and get an ice cream, we'll go. And I'm like, this is where it comes in to advocate for him. I'm like, just let him process it. It's going to be a lot better than if we just freeze this right now and go and fix it with an ice cream. Like, let's just let him scream. Who cares? The people are walking past, they understand. He's a 3-year-old kid. He wants to play mini golf and it's closed. So he was having this like full blown meltdown, like shaking the gates, and yeah, and you just have to let him. You just got to let him, and it bubbles your own. Like I'm there in tears because my kid can't play mini golf, but it's not. It's like
you're like, I'm not that sad.
It's got nothing to do with it. It's just like it brings up in you as a child when you know that emotion that you stored as a child when something like didn't go my way, and I packed that down and stored it, and it's like. For my emotion to come out in that moment too is an absolute gift of his emotional wave. It's incredible. Yeah.
And he's like learning a lot about disappointment and expectations with that transitoriness. So that's, oh man, that's probably just you constantly on that wave with him of like expectation, disappointment, disappointment.
It's constant. And he doesn't do the same thing. Like he doesn't repeat the same thing twice. He'll tweak it and do it again. So like when he put the monster truck in the microwave, I'm like, what are you doing, mate? Like, you can't cook monster trucks. And he's just like, sorry, mum, and hit start, like as he's looking at me. Like I can't, it couldn't stop himself. And then like I'm pulling it out the microwave. I'm like, no, we don't cook monster trucks. And then I catch him 10 minutes later.
Oh no,
and he's got it in there again, but set for a different time. So it's like I want to repeat the process to see what happens, but I'll do it for a different time. Then I'm just like, mate.
Yeah. So I've seen you talk about this on your stories about asking and telling. Do you want to talk about that? Because I'm sure that we'll have a lot of parents of manifestors watching this, and because nobody knows, like not a lot of people talk about parenting manifestor children. So
yeah. So this has come from Ra when he speaks about the manifested child, and a lot of the source parenting material. I feel like it's always in my ears. That's what I might go to, especially because I'm high sounds. If I'm going to eat, I go straight to a parenting lecture or something like that. But we start by teaching them to ask, and it naturally turns to informing. So I just say to him, like, can you ask mummy? Just ask mummy. And it's like always reiterating to him that mummy's not going to say no, and mummy might not say yes, but you have to ask because we've got to know where you're going with this. Like, what are you up to? And I'll say to him, mate, like, just ask. And he does. It's started the informing process, I feel. And then after the age of 7, heading towards 14, he'll start to just naturally inform. But he in saying that, he naturally informs anyway, all day long. And he's better at informing than asking. Yeah. But it's kind of like he will just sort of, he even informs when he plays, right? So I'm doing a master's of child play therapy, and we talk a lot about playing with children and the importance of play. And I literally sit with him while he plays, and he informs me of what he's doing while he plays, and just that constant informing. As he speaks, I inform him back his exact words. So he'll say like, the dinosaur is going to eat the cow, and I'll say, oh, the dinosaur is going to eat the cow, and I inform back. Like, and it's almost like this: I've heard you, inform me, sort of thing. But yeah, I'm constantly saying to him, you got to ask. yeah, and 9 times out of 10, I get on board with what he's doing. If he asks me and it's safe, 9 times out of 10, I'll just do what he asks, because it's like this positive reinforcement that if you ask, you know, somebody's listening and they're probably going to get what you want anyway. And 9 times out of 10, his ideas are great. Like, we have a ball. Just doing things.
What about when I've seen some videos, like one specifically sticking out in my brain that you did on stories. You were in the car and you were just informing him that your husband was going to go into like the gas station or something. I can't remember. Or like informing him that your husband was going to get a snack. And do you wait for him to inform you, I want a snack? Like, how does that go when you're letting him know?
Yeah, a lot of the time it's like a lot of the time it's like giving him information, but not putting an expectation in there that he will respond or reply, or so a lot of the time it is like that. It's like, oh, we're going to have dinner soon, but it's not like we're going to have dinner soon up to the table. It's just like, we're going to have dinner soon, or Dad's going to get an ice cream, and he'll say if he wants one, like. And if he doesn't say and he doesn't get one and he goes off on about it, like, you know, then we use one of those teachable moments to say, you know, you should have said, you could have said, you could have. And I often say to him, because he's right into like superheroes and stuff, you know, the little boy. And I often say to him, your superpower is your voice. And just reiterating to him, like, your superpower is in your voice. Yeah, so it's incredible to watch. He's taken our family like on some wild adventures that we wouldn't have gone on without him. And also, yeah, there's a massive big adventure coming up for us in 2022, all because of this manifested child. Yeah, it's quite incredible.
So wild.
Yeah.
I remember you had something in your story, this is kind of changing the subject, but about doing a session with like a PHS practitioner for your cold thirst projector baby. And I remember seeing before and after pictures. Didn't he get a rash or something before you started shifting things? What was that like, and how did you shift it?
Yeah, it's like, you know, as much as I knew, this is how strong the mind is. Like, as much as I knew about human design. So my eldest was raised from 8 months by his design, the best that we could to our awareness. My new baby, from the, like, you know, moment he was born, I've known about his design, seconds after he was born, sort of thing. And the mind is so powerful. Like, I knew he was cold thirst, but yet it's like, no, this baby must breastfeed because that's what society says is correct. And so, like, you know, I'm trying to feed him and I'm having all of the feeding issues that new mums have. But that's okay. Like, you get through it. Just keep going, you know, the forcing. And even my mind was like, he's cold. Like, I know he's cold thirst, but then there's something that's just going, no, he needs breast milk. And instantly, like, he had this rash on his chest. And everyone was like, oh, it's dribble rash. You know, babies get dribble rash and this sort of thing. But it would spread down to his body and his torso. And I knew all along it was the breast milk. So I tried pumping and putting it in the fridge and serving him like cold breast milk, but I just have never had a great supply that way. I have to have the baby feed off me. So I knew that wasn't going to work. And then I just reached out to my network, and it was Brayton that put me on to a PHS practitioner that he knew, who, one of the originals, you know, been in her experiment for 28 years or something. Wow. And it was just that knowledge and wisdom of like you're not doing anything wrong. Yes, the baby can still breastfeed, but have you thought about like as soon as he feeds, giving him some cold water to cool the digestive tract down? And so we tried that for a while, which, you know, it started to work and that, but I knew in my, like, mum's intuition, I knew in my heart of hearts that he needed cold milk. And so we found the best sort of like formula, I guess, that we could find for him, and just started giving him cold bottles, and instantly cleared up, happier kid, fuller kid. It was almost like it was like the nutrient, he could get the nutrients
like
he needed.
So I'm cold thirst, and my mom nursed me and I got a rash. And she didn't know why, and so she just had this idea to put a cold washcloth on my
Yeah.
belly and my chest while I was nursing, and I would still like get really hot and sweaty and this rash and all of that. And so finally she's like, well, I'm just gonna have to give you bottles. And she's like, I hardly heated them up. And she's like, I would still put a cold washcloth on you because you would still, she'd like, it'd strip you down every time.
Yeah, that's what we do with him. Strip him down as cool as possible. Or I'll sit, the chair that I'll sit in will be under an air conditioner. Feeding him. But yeah, it's just, it's funny because the mind was like, no. But it's like everything in me knew that, no, this kid can't, like, he just doesn't do well with hot foods and hot drinks. And it's actually easier. Like, we just like literally like, here's your bottle, mate.
Yeah. I saw a video of him the other day getting his cup out of the fridge.
I love that video.
Yeah, it's always put it in the same spot, and he just like cruises back and like always trying to get his cold water out the fridge. But like, even this morning, he's eating cold grass, and I'm like, he just anything like cold, it's just straight in.
Yeah.
And anything hot, he literally like touches his mouth and he spits it, like just won't put it in. And people think, oh, he's not hungry, and it's like, no, he's starving. He just won't put that in.
Right. And I think a lot of people forget about determination as far as it's about nutrient absorption, both like information and from the food. So like my husband's indirect, he's experimenting hardcore right now with that, and he's been talking to Laura Sacral Journal about that. And she was like, I had this aha moment. I was loading up my smoothies during the day with all this like nutrition, and I realized I'm not getting the full nutrition from those things until after the sun's down. And so with any determination, like you mentioned, he was healthier when you started feeding him cold bottles, healthier looking, more nourished. It's nutrition. Yeah.
And it's like when we feed them against their determination, the body, it can still get nutrients, but it's a homogenized. It like cuts off the potential for differentiation. And that's what we're cutting off that potential for their cognition, for their tonal, cutting off that potential. And like obviously the brain develops, and they say that the brain develops until the age of 3, but the kids that are fed in accordance with their determination, the brain continues to develop to 5 and 7. And this is where this tonal cognition comes in. And it's like, we haven't even seen the potential of this yet. Like, we haven't even seen the potential of what it is like to raise children with their tonal cognition. Like, as adults, it's like PHS, we're trying to go backwards and ungunko our brains, but we've kind of missed that. We've missed that crucial point. So it's incredible to actually witness it happening in my actual wells. Like, it is my breast milk, it is my body heat that's affecting him. And I have this, like, there's this thing that always mills around in my head when the babies come out jaundice. And like, I'm no doctor or nurse or anything like that. But I just think, like, because he was a little bit jaundiced, and I'm like, no wonder, like, all of his food was warm when he was in the womb. And then I think about children that are direct, like the light kids. And I wonder, and, recently somebody, one of my mates, her baby was born and she's a direct determination and she's jaundiced. And I've got this thing that's like, maybe it's against their determination in the womb, and that's when they come out jaundiced. But obviously, like, there's a whole other reason.
Open head shit.
This is where my mind goes, open heads, like, I can cure jaundice with this.
I mean, who knows? Because what
who knows
about when if babies are in the NICU or they have jaundice and they feed them through a feeding tube, or they're not warming up their bottles. So what if they help their babies? And another thing that sparked to me was Teresa's nervous determination. And so, what are we doing? Sit still, sit down, sit still. When they're little, like, sit still, sit still. Sit
all
still.
the time.
How was that for you, Teresa? Like, do you remember anything growing up about your nervous determination? And
I just remember I was always wanting stimulation. And so, like, if we were sitting at the table and nobody was talking, I would like kick my brother or, start like a fight or something just so there was some energy flowing. Or I'd want to like eat in front of the TV. And I remember I would stand while I was watching TV and like dance. I would just like, there's like videos of me really little, like eating and like dancing and listening to music and watching TV. So, I mean, my mom is really intuitive, and it's almost like she kind of knew about design intuitively, but didn't know about it. And looking back, there was a lot of things that I think she's a projector. I feel like she just knew some things. And so I don't really have a ton of conditioning around that, which is actually really good. It's, a few times I remember as like a kid, like wanting to just take my food with me to go to school and be like, I'll eat it in the car, I'll just eat it as I'm going. And I remember her saying, no, you should sit down and relax while you're eating, like a few times. And then I just bulldozed her. And so she stopped trying.
Yeah. And I find like with the right brain and mind too, like my manifestor, if he doesn't, like, I can't force him to have breakfast. If he doesn't want breakfast, there is no sitting down and eating breakfast. Like he just, but then I see like if he's about to use his mind or he's been using his mind, then he says, Mum, I'm hungry, or I want something to eat now. He just tells me. I'm just like snack bitch, pretty much. Snack bitch. Just like, Mum, get me food. But it's all in, like, it's not like he has to have this regular feeding like we think that these kids have to have. And I just like, even like the schooling system where I'm like, they've got to eat at recess and they've got to eat at lunch. I'm like, he's not going to do that. He's not going to be able to go to mainstream school, I don't think anyway. But yeah, it's just like, I wonder, how that plays into it, the rightness, because for me, it's like, I got to eat because I'm left. It's like, I've got to eat, or I just literally can't function in my brain. But for him, it's not like that. It's sort of like after the fact or just before he's going to use, or while he's using. It's not scheduled like me. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just kind of random when you're right. I mean, I'm definitely the kind of person now that I need to eat breakfast, but I do notice if I'm not really, I don't know, it's like I don't need huge quantities of food at once. If I'm really listening to my body, I get full like really quickly. So I might eat kind of often, but it's like really small quantities.
Yeah.
Yeah, or if you don't and then you do, it's like sacral.
Yes, yeah. If you don't eat all day.
Yeah,
I put the projector kid. We usually do dinner together, him and I, because my other two are low sounds. Like hubby and manifestor are low sounds, so they can sit together and eat, no worries, and just like quietness. I'm high sounds, so I'm like, where's the noise at? Or I'm like searching for noise, or I've got my AirPods in. But the projector, because he's not conditioned on the environment, it's like the food. The conditioning's in the temperature of the food. So him and I often eat together. I'll have a podcast in, like whatever going. But my hubby fed him the other day, and he ate and ate and ate and didn't stop. And I'm like, he is like, it's the sacral.
The sacral.
He was just like, I want what you're having, and he was on his dad's plate and he's just shoving it in. I'm like thinking, you have never eaten this amount before. And then I was thinking about my own diet. And I'm like, oh, that's why I eat so much when you're around. Like, it's the sacral. It's like, oh, if he says, like, should we have steak for dinner? I'm like, yes, let's have steak. Like, whatever you're having, I'm having. It's just like, yeah.
Well, in cold thirst with a sacral, which is what I have, it is like as fast as I like thirst food, get it in there. And so it's funny to think about your non-sacral baby like being around a sacral and
he was
like,
just
cold thirst with a sacral.
Oh, like he's gonna be sick for sure. Like, and it was cold spaghetti. And he was just like literally just shoving it in. Then he's like on his dad's plate, shoving that in. I'm like,
Doesn't scare me at all.
Yeah, my partner's like, have you fed him today? I'm like, yes, it's you causing this. But it's so interesting because he works away. So he's like a mining FIFO worker, and so we have him a week at home and then he's a week away. And that sacral entry into the house changes the dynamic of the kids. It changes bedtime. It changes everything, the food we eat, what we do. And then he goes away and it's like the first day is like a hangover. We're all just like coming down sacral energy. No one can be stuck doing anything. Like everyone's sort of just a bit lethargic. You really notice the difference with the sacral coming into the house. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah. But he does the things like he'll just be like, should we go to the playground? And like everyone's sort of like on board, and he's just like loading the kids into the car, and I'm just like, wait, like let me get my stuff. Like, I can't keep up. But
yeah, that must be such a contrast, like a whole week without him. What an interesting like dynamic to add to the experiment.
yeah, and I really notice it sleeping too. So 9 times out of 10, I get up and go to the spare room anyway. And if I'm gonna take a child, I'll take the projector with me, and I'll like sacrifice the manifester to him. I'm like, you've got a closed door, or you'll be right. I'm taking my. I'm like, come on, little projector, off we go. Yeah, I really notice that. But actually, like, laying next to each other, the manifester and the generator, like it's not ideal, but if they have to, if they have to, they're a fine.
Brayton's comment. Bye, Jen.
Yeah. Or if like my hubby goes to like cuddle into the projector, I'm like, get off him, like don't. He can't sleep there.
So, since you mentioned that, when you talked about it before on your stories with the projector baby, how is his bedtime routine?
Yeah, so he will sort of like toddle around to the house. He'll take himself to the bath. Sort of looks like stand at the bath, like it's bath time now. Oh shit, it's bath time. Okay, we'll do that. For him, what we've had to implement, because my partner's away, so there has to be some sort of like distraction for the manifester while I'm trying to like do the bedtime routine for the projector, because the manifester keeps coming in wanting to initiate things like, Mum, let's do this, Mum, look at this, Mum. I'm just like, and then of course the manifester comes in and the projector kid's like, what's happening? And I'm like, no, it's lay down bedtime. So what I ended up doing was buying a heap of Lego, and just saying like, this is only a bedtime thing. We can play Lego at bedtime. And so like I literally switched the light on in his room and just put Lego all over the floor and just like leave him in his room. And I just tell him like, he knows his room is his kingdom. He can do what he likes in there because that's his world. And so that sort of like distracted him enough to build and do things, I guess, while it takes probably about 35 to 40 minutes to get the projector child to really sort of chill, and just come down from the day. Yeah, and he needs that bath, and we put like lavender in it, and it's like never even a hot bath. It's just like a lukewarm, like room temperature bath, lavender. And you see him sort of like winding down. But if you try and take him to bed, or like Granny, who's a sacral generator, is trying to rock him to bed, he's just like pinging and he can't sleep.
It's like I'm plugging into her motor.
Yeah. And I always like, I can, if we have family over and they want to do bedtime, I let them, but I'll go down at about 45-minute mark, 50-minute mark, and say, I can do it if you like. And then I'll just like literally like put him in his cot, and I'm like, you're okay. Like the sacral energy's gone now. Like chill. But the manifested child, he just tells me, he'll just say, Mum, I'm always like trying to talk to him, and he just cuts me off. He's just like, Mum, I'm going to sleep now. Okay. See ya.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. This is so funny to hear, because my niece is 8 and she's a manifester. And, you know, I think I found out about human design when she was like 4. And I knew immediately. I didn't even know anything about design really, except for like the basics of the types. And I'm like, she's a manifester, 100%. But we were over there the other night, and that's exactly how she was. She was just like, I'm going to bed, just announces it to the whole room. And we're like, okay, good night.
Yeah. And the hardest one is like when he's going to bed, like this was last night, it happens maybe 2 or 3 nights a week. Mum, but I'm going to sleep in your bed. And he just tells me, and I'm like, tell him, I'm like, no, we start in your bed. We don't start in mine, we start in your bed. And he's just like, no. And then he comes up with like, he just starts telling me like, no, I'm sleeping in your bed. He's like, your bed's adorable. That's what he says. Your bed's adorable. And I'm like, your bed's adorable. And he just like, we have to, like, I just have this thing where I'm going to just start here, because it means I get to start the night by myself too, which is important to me. But he's got the open spleen, so he's always going to come for my spleen until it finds its own timing and well-being and safety. So he will always, he always trottles up the hallway, 3-4 o'clock in the morning, jumps in. Yeah, and it's just like instantly back to sleep. But that need for the spleen, he comes. We've tried even tried plants in his room, trying to get that like 57 and just the splenic definition in, but there's nothing like mum's defined spleen, I don't think so. Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
have a generator child, and I'll just throw this in about bedtime because we'll cover all the types pretty much except for reflectors. And my son, I listened to a raw lecture a couple weeks ago, and it refreshed in my brain that generator children shouldn't have bedtimes. And I was like, okay, or they're, not designed to have bedtimes. So I was like, we'll experiment with this. And I was like, okay, good night, Weston, I'm going to bed, and his bedroom's right above mine. And so I could just hear him like moving around on his bed. I could hear playing with his guinea pig, whatever he was doing. He was up late. He was up so late. And then I was like, oh shit, the morning is probably going to be like terrible. I'm going to have to get him up. Oh no, that little dude was up before me, wide awake. He was up and he was just flourishing that morning. And I was like, oh my gosh.
More regenerative sleep.
Yeah, but everything in my body, in my brain, in my mind, I should say, was like, he's not going to get good sleep. He has to go to school and blah, blah, blah. And no, it was amazing. And so now that's what I do. I'm like, you don't have to like go to sleep, but you need to be in your room. And that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I do with Jed. I'm just like, this is like, it's room time now. But yeah, with the projector, it's definitely like, it's like a 1 to 2 hour process. It's just like it starts with bath time and it starts with winding them down, and I've got to separate them. So I can't have the manifester in the bath with the projector because it's just, it's almost amplifying. It's not even, it doesn't count for bedtime sort of thing. So yeah, but my partner, I watch him, his sacral like run out of gas, and then literally he'll be like, right, off to bed, and then his head hits the pillow and he's out. And I'm just like, I've always, even before I knew about human design, when we first got together, I used to hate that. I'm like, how can you just do that?
Yeah.
I used to hate it, but now I understand. Yeah. And when he wakes up in the morning, it's just like, bang, I'm up, off we go, like, da, 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 da. Whereas I'm sort of like, if I've slept in the spare room, which a lot of the times I do, and just having that conversation with him too, like, this means nothing about our relationship. This is just more about me needing to sleep in my own aura. Yeah, if I've slept in the spare room, I'll wake up feeling like I've got energy, like feeling like I can do the day. If I have to sleep next to him or the kids, I wake up feeling like I don't know how I'm going to get through the day. Like, literally, I was like, I got nothing here.
Yeah, the aura and sleep is life-changing. I mean, for children, for adults, for it all. And I think it's so powerful to know your child's design, like from birth, because you have all of this, and it's becoming conditioning because it's coming back around, like co-sleeping. And I did that. And, it's like, we feel this intuitive thing to do that. But then sometimes it's like, we got to put our own oxygen mask on first, right? Yeah. And so for me, it was like sleeping next to an emotional baby. Oh man, we'd have to sleep forever. I'd have to sleep forever, like 10 hours, and we were in our own rhythm. I was in his rhythm. I was just subject to his flow. And now that how I understand everything, and then since me and my husband have split bedrooms, I'm like, that emotional center, sleeping next to that is incredibly crazy detrimental to my well-being.
Yeah, I feel that. I 100% feel that. Yeah.
Even just sleeping next to a pokey projector aura. Yeah. He's penetrating you all night.
Yeah, well, and too, for my husband being non-sacral, I see some people talking, and Brayton's kind of catching up on their comments. So thank you, Brayton.
Thanks, Bay.
You're with them. But that, like, having children that are different types, like a generator and a projector child sleeping in the same room.
Yeah.
That projector child might not be getting that good of sleep. Like, just in my experience with my husband, we thought he had restless leg syndrome and he would have to like shake in the bed. He'd be in the bed and he would just be like, just got to shake. And I'm like, I think you have a problem. I think you need to go to a doctor. Like, there's something like, and he couldn't sleep and he'd be getting up and coming back and getting up. And you have there's some medical problem, I'm sure.
You know
And
what I feel it? I feel it in my heart if I sleep next
yeah,
to a generator. I feel this like do do do.
yeah,
Like it's like my heart's beating harder.
yeah. And he likes
Yeah.
my spleen too. And I'm like, and now that I understand all of that, I'm like, oh no, my sacral motor. And then you couldn't sleep, you're shaking. So think about it with children, if they're in paired bedrooms, you know, my biggest advice would be like, just get them as far away from possible
Yeah.
from each other in the same bedroom, if that's all you can do.
Yeah.
Because, you know, beds far away apart.
Yeah. 2 arms lengths. That's why I always just say to people, like, just
Yep.
get like, yeah, little kids have little arms. So just get like 2 arms lengths. And as they get bigger, just try and
Yep.
keep them apart. But I noticed with the projector who's splenic, he doesn't, there's no need for my spleen. It's just like literally like, no, mum, see you later. But yeah, the manifest is, since he got language, I could say to him, why are you coming? Like, what's happening in the night? And it's always a safety thing. It's always I don't feel safe. I don't feel, or someone's going to come and get us or things like that. And I'm like, no one's going to come and get us, mate. Like, it's cool.
Do you notice
But
anything in the transits when he has a defined spleen via the transits?
yeah, he sleeps better. So he might sleep through, like, if the transits are splenic, he will sleep through, no worries, in his own bed. Yeah, it's really interesting. It's and then like my projector baby, while he's splenic, I join his split. So he's split deaf, and I bridge that. So he can, it's almost, sometimes he can come for that, but 9 times out of 10 he's got this, it's like this sense of, and you can sense it about him, he doesn't feel unsafe. And I did speak to, when I was dealing with the PHS practitioner that Brayton recommended, I did speak to her about the open spleen and the child, and I was like, how do I fix this? But it was just like it's just a matter of timing, and just always reiterating to him, like, you are safe, you are well. And I always tell him, your body knows how to heal itself, and it heals when we sleep. And I'm always reiterating that to him, your body heals when you sleep. And just so he gets that sense of safety, just trying to condition him with, you know, that good sort of
conditioning.
Like, yeah.
Good. That's so good.
Correct.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But it's just like it's like people grabbing human design and wondering if it's going to make parenting easier. It's like, no, it's a chaos circus of awareness that you can't take back. Like, once you know, and you're just like, oh, I can't unknow this. Yeah, so
it's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah, it is.
It really is.
But you watch these little kids' brains. You know, like Jed's 3 and he can read and he's teaching himself Spanish, but it's all on his terms. It's got to be on his terms. Just to watch his brain developing and his cognition developing. He's in a vision. And he says things that seem a bit prophesizing, but they're not. It's just his inner vision, and it's just because of his ability to his brain to differentiate. That's all it is, and it's incredible to watch.
Wow.
We bought a new car the other day, and I said to him, is this the car that's going to tow our new caravan? Because we were planning on getting a new caravan, but we haven't got it yet. And he said, yeah, Mummy, this is the car, and it tows our blue and grey caravan. And we were like, that's fine. I said to my partner, did you show him a caravan or something? And he's like, no. And he swears this caravan's blue and grey. And about, I don't know, 3 weeks later, we go to look at caravans, and the only one that we can purchase here in Australia, you can't get them made until 2023, and the only one that's there for us to purchase, and it was perfect, was this blue and grey caravan. And we were just like, I was just like, is this his inner vision? Is this like, what is this? But he literally just says, like, yes, Mum, it's this car and this van, and that's what we're going with.
Oh, I love that. I have like goosebumps all over because feeling, cognition, inner vision, touch, they are, it's like just this.
Yeah.
And it's so cool that you can like nurture that and not be like, call it weird or anything.
Yeah. And I used to think, like, does he, like, I think it was Brayton that helped me understand this a lot more too, was that, like, I'm like, but he doesn't close his eyes. He literally does it with his eyes open. He'll just say, yes, it's this. And he'll just like pause for a moment and he'll say, like, and it's going to tow our blue and grey caravan. Oh, okay, like, whatever. but it sounds psychic, or it sounds like prophets, like this kid's got these psychic abilities. And he's like, well, he kind of does, but it's actually in his mechanics, and it's actually his differentiated potential because of the way that he's fed.
He's like going through portals as he's like
yeah
looking off into the distance.
Yeah.
And didn't he initiate the caravan experience?
Yeah. He's it's like, if anyone thinks like manifest, that you can just sort of like law of attraction, manifestation things, it's like, I've got a story for you, but I won't go too far into it because it's like a long story. But yeah, this child's initiated us into changing our whole life. We're literally uprooting our whole family, and in 2022 we'll be hitting the road and doing a big lap around Australia, just with the van and the car and us, because of this kid who's basically said, I don't want to live in the house, I'm going to live in the caravan. And I looked at my partner, and his sacral was lit. He was like, sounds like a great idea to me.
Great adventure.
Yeah, and he like literally looks at me and he goes, what about you, Mum? We can't do it without you. And I'm like, oh, what a lovely invitation. I was like, not a no. It's like, it's no splenic no. So I'm like, okay, I guess we're doing this.
This is fucking awesome.
Yeah, and from the moment he said that, it's like we haven't had to push, we haven't had to force. From the moment he said, we're not going to live in the house, we're going to live in the van, things just started to happen. And it was just like, you know, the right car was there, the right van was there, the house sold in a week. It was just like bang, bang. And it's just like, we couldn't have, if I tried to manifest my life for 2022, this is not what I would have manifested. But I know that this is correct, and I know that this is perfect. And there's going to be, and when I actually think about it, I'm like, we've got a whole family with no G center. We've got, you know, we've got a whole family of Shores people, like, you know, on the road, free, like, even our home, our house that we bought, we never made it a home. Like, it was homely and we had our things, but we never aesthetically, like, there's, you know, pictures of kids on the walls. It's like, no, we never did that because we don't have that. It wasn't where we were supposed to be. And he sort of initiated us to where we were supposed to be. And Shores adults and kids on the road, it's like it's one big shore for them. It's just like this one big, you know, looking out into where we're going. My partner even had some health issues, and then when we did our latest trip, which was a 6-week trip, his health issues cleared up in that time. Yeah, so it's just incredible. And because I'm internal markets, I can take my market anywhere, you know, as long as I got internet. So yeah, it's really, it's
such a trip.
To have like to just be initiated daily, and then to also like to surrender and respect the big initiation. Like, it's all right to be initiated into spaghetti bog for dinner or mini golf, but to surrender to the big initiation and just sit back and go, well, shit, this is correct. As much as the mind is like, what are you doing? Like, you're selling your $1 million property to go in a caravan.
Because your 3-year-old said that he wants to.
Because our 3-year-olds, because our 3-year-old's like, we're going. And and here's the thing: he's even said where we're going to stop and buy a new house. So he's even said we're going to do this, and this is where we're going to stop, and this is where we're going to buy our new house. And we just sort of like, we're open to anything. We're gonna do the trip and just see. But it'll be interesting to see if that's where we end up, or
That is so wild.
Yeah. Sounds crazy, eh? Like, even our family's like, you can't do that, and you'll never buy a house like that again. Like, they're all like, you know, that generation of like, oh no, you can't do that. And then when we said actually it was Jed's idea, that's it.
No choice.
Wasn't my idea.
No choice at all.
Yeah.
Oh God, manifestor kids are such a trip. That makes me think of the other night when I was with my niece. She's like, Mom, I'm gonna live in this house when I'm old enough and I'm gonna have kids and you guys are gonna move out. Like, maybe she will end up living in that house, you know, maybe you
Yeah.
guys are gonna be like, hey, we're gonna go travel, you're old enough to be by yourself.
Yeah.
And they sound brutal too. Like when they come at you, these kids, like with the correct language, they sound brutal, but it's just like, it's how it is, and you just have to take it. Like there's no meaning to it or anything like that. Like he just, yeah, they they just say it.
Mhm.
Just say it, yeah.
Wow.
With such assuredness, just like, this is what's
Yeah.
gonna happen.
Yeah. Yeah, and we ask him each night, like, we always read to him, and we say, like, we even say to him, who's reading to you tonight? And he'll say, Dad's reading tonight, or Mum's reading tonight, and we just do that because it's just like, just do what he says.
That's really what it's like. Like when
Yeah.
we babysat my niece for a weekend one time, I felt like I was just her step and fetch it. I was just and I even filmed her saying, I was like, you just boss people around, don't you? And she's like, yep. And then we went over to my parents' house and we were playing in the pool and playing like volleyball. And she's literally bossing us all around. Like we're all generators, right? And my mom's the projector off on the sideline somewhere where all the generators, it's like, get into formation. She's like, you go here, you go here. And she's just like telling us what to do. And we're all like, okay.
Yeah. I have to remind him a lot to not just take, because he just takes, right, man? Like if he wants something, he just takes it. And so I have to remind him a lot, like, don't take, ask, don't take, ask. Always saying that to him, or I'll say, don't take, and he goes, ask, like looks at me like, yeah, Mum, I get it. But yeah, he often just like takes things off other kids. So it's like, and you can when you watch the other kids, you can see which ones are like manifestors and which ones are just sort of like, oh, okay, I don't know what to do with this kid. Like he's just polarized me. Yeah, and it's constantly like when he stole this fucking Pikachu plush toy from a shop, like literally just took it and took off. And I'm chasing this kid through the shop, like saying to him, "You can't just take things. Like we have to ask." Like, yeah, just constantly reminding him. Yeah, but they're brutal, and they just tell you how it is and what's happening. And 9 times out of 10, that's why I like to set that boundary, because it's like you're still the parent. You still got to make sure it's safe, and that they're not going to hurt themselves or hurt someone else, or sometimes I do let him learn a lesson though. Like he took off out the front gate the other day because I wouldn't buy him something, and I let him go, knowing full well that I could ring the neighbours 2 houses up and say, "Hey, Jed's on his way past. Just keep an eye out for him." And he stormed off, and I sort of just let him go to a point where I knew that he would turn around and come back. But sometimes those lessons, I think, I needed as well, and for him to blow off steam because he was angry because I just controlled him. Worst thing for a manifestor is like, control them. But yeah, it's a trip. Like, yeah, if someone said to me you were going to be parenting a manifestor and it was going to change your whole world, I wouldn't have been able to even put that in my mind as to how it actually plays out in our life daily. It's incredible. Yeah. Wow. He even tells us, like, turn the music up, turn the music down, don't sing, Mum, don't sing, Dad, don't dance, Geordie. Like, he's just like, God,
curating his environment.
Do you encourage him to invite his brother in to play with him, or?
Yeah, I always say to him, you're Geordie's biggest teacher. Like, they're there, so everyone in our house doesn't have a G. We're all open or undefined G centers. Geordie's only other open centers are throat and solar plexus, and Jed's only defined centers are throat and solar plexus. So they mirror each other.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm always sort of like saying you're Geordie's biggest teacher. Like, he loves to play with you. I don't tell him to invite him, but he loves to play with you. Like, just dropping like information at him. Geordie doesn't know how to use the slide, and then Jed will like get up and show him how to use the slide. Yeah, sort of like just sort of like it's a difficult one, because it's like you don't want to be saying like to this manifest like you have to invite your brother, especially because I know what he's going to do. He's going to say, "No, Mum, like nick off." But it's kind of like just reiterating to him, like, you're teaching him, because Geordie uses his voice a lot more with Jed around as well, because he's amplifying the throat. And I would say to him, like, you're teaching him to speak, and he taught him how to clap. So on the way to Darwin, which was a 3,000 kilometre trip, I said in the car, first one to teach Geordie to clap gets a chocolate frog or something like that. And he's in the back, like initiating this projector, like teaching him how to clap. And yeah, Geordie's like, just turn around, start clapping. Like taught him how to clap and things like that. So then it's like using that teachable moment, like, remember when you taught Geordie how to clap? Yeah, just things like that. Just, yeah, really, really, it's such an interesting thing to watch, because when he doesn't want to play with him or doesn't want him around, he's very quick to just like shut that aura down. Like it's always closed anyway, but it becomes dense. It's like it's dense, and you can just like literally see Geordie just bouncing off of it. Like, look at me, look at me. Like Geordie won't watch TV or anything like that. He wants to watch a face. So he wants to stare at someone's face, and he'll be like, the manifest will be like, Mum, get him away from me. And he's not doing anything except looking at him, and that's annoying.
Oh, yeah.
Poking him.
Yeah, he's just looking. He's
Aura.
like, get him away from me. He's looking at me. I'm like, no, he's just looking. But he's always like, he's looking at me. I'm like, yes, mate. So am I. Yeah, but when they get along, they get along. It'll be interesting. Yeah, Geordie's like, our baby's the only one with a defined head as well. So we were all getting around, sort of no pressure up here. And then he came along, and there's that pressure to think and analyze and come up with solutions and things like that. And he also brought the money line as well. So yeah, it's such an interesting dynamic. It is chaos. And it's just going with the flow. Like all we can do is just go with the flow. There's no other way in our household.
Full surrender.
Kind of rolling off that, you do family penta readings.
Yeah.
So Amy is just incredible at transmitting human design. She has Channel of Surrender. But the way that she does it, and one of the first things that kind of like piqued me to be like, invite her into my network was like, hey, you do a lot of metaphors and analogies about design, and I fucking love that. Like, I
don't know where they come from. Well,
like, you speak my language. Like, this is how, and I don't know if that's a fourth line thing to like, or your channel, but a way to like explain to your network or to people you're around so they feel, but that's what I love about it. And so the way that you talk about parenting and talk about pentas and family dynamics and all of that is just so accessible. It's easy to understand. It lands. And the way it feels is that you make it very easy for people to apply the knowledge of their design to themselves and their family and parenting without them having to know the whole system.
Yeah. And I always say, like, thank you so much for that. It's lovely recognition. Put that in my little recognition bag. I always say, like, I'm not the professor. I'm not like the PH level. I'm the contagion. I'm gonna eat the mushroom, and if I don't die, you can eat the mushroom too. And that's what it's like for me. It's like, I'm gonna do this human design parenting thing, and if I don't die, and we all don't die, it's okay for you to do it too. But it's like, I like to keep things palatable and accessible, and it's like it's probably my motivation as well. It's like, what's needed here, what's necessary here, because I've gone to like my transference, I've gone to fear, I've gone to like the depths of the rabbit holes, and it's just like, come back to what's necessary, especially when you're a projector parent, especially when you're a parent. There's enough happening in life. It's so busy as it is. And when you're a projector parent, it's like, the energy exchange is pretty high. You're not invited to change nappies. You're not invited to feed your kids. Like, you have to do against your design a lot of the time. And so I'm like, what's necessary? And that's where I sort of stem from there. I'm like, what's necessary? And if you can grasp and get this and embody and experiment and live this, okay, then what's necessary after that? What's necessary after that? Rather than like, all of this is necessary, we've got to do it all and know everything. And that's where like this nurture class came in, was just like, what's necessary here to nurture the nature here. That's all we need to start with. Yeah.
And you have that class coming up December. If you're in Australia, it's December 18th. If you're in the States, It's December 17th. It's in the evening in the States. Yeah.
I laugh at my ability.
I sent it to my sister because I just ran all my sister's children's chart. She just had another baby, and then she was like, okay, I'm finally ready to like know about all my children. So, and then I was like, Amy has this class. So I looked up the time zone, and I think it's like 4 p.m. Pacific on the 17th in the States. So
everyone will get a recording too, though, because a lot of people are international. So I was just like, I'll get the recording out to everyone as well. But yeah, I just wanted to run it a bit like real fourth liney too, like that really like, let's have a transmission and let's talk about human design and drop what's necessary and needed, but also let's network as parents. And so it's like, you know, if I don't have a child, that's indirect, but another parent raising their child by design might have a child that's indirect. And if you guys can swap socials and be like, you know, it just makes it a bit more normal, I guess, a bit more normalized, because, you know, society or the general population doesn't really understand, oh, my child's nocturnal. Like, they're going to say, what? Like, the child's not a possum. But, yeah, like, yeah, so there will be a bit of, like, that Q&A and just, like, a bit like a chat at the end, too, where we can just network and have a yarn. So, yeah.
And it's incredibly priced. I noticed that. I was like, shit, that's good. That's very accessible, which is, you're making it accessible for parents. I mean, this is what it's for. Get the information to the parents for the children. And you just nailed that. I was like, damn.
Yeah.
You're so good at, like, I mean, just your offers. It's your channel. Damn. Just like,
yeah, I've had people say to me like, oh, that's pretty cheap for a masterclass, especially for a projectors exchange. But it's like, it's for the kids, you know. It's literally a transmission of what's needed. Like, I can't penetrate and focus with that many people, so it's not my it's not that exchange of my extreme focus on that person, like what I would do in a one-on-one session. So it's like, and it is for the kids, so it's like, this needs to be accessible. There needs to be exchange, because my defined heart is like, I'm not doing this without an exchange, but the exchange is suitable for the purpose of getting it out there.
Well, yeah, and you're kind of like a one-on-one, because you'll be like, it's not constant engagement necessarily. You're transmitting some information. So
yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's about 33 registered. So yeah, wow. It'd be good just to just to get it out there, really.
So if you want to, do you feel complete? Is there anything else that you want to share on this, or any questions?
I'm like, I need the sacrals to cut me off, because I do not know when enough's enough. I would just be like yeah, still going. Yeah,
it's time.
yeah. Like my open throat is like, okay, so what are we talking about next? Hello, everybody that's popped on too. I've seen the little names scrolling past, and there's so many familiar names in there. So, yeah.
Well, thanks everyone for joining.
Enjoy your Sunday evening.
If you want to locate Amy, you can follow her. She'll be tagged in this video. I do highly recommend going and checking out her page, following her. Turn on notifications for her stories, and you'll see Jed and Jordy. But yeah, usually Jordy's just kind of doing his own little thing. Oh, you had another video up. I have to bring it up. He was like, you have like a glass gate around your pool or something, and he was just out there. You're just like, you're inside the house. You're like, there's my little projector baby. Just
yeah, I watch him too. He stands up, and I watch the splenic radar go around him, and it's almost like he's just sort of like sussing the environment, and then he'll go a bit further, and he stands up. It's like a meerkat stands up and goes and then stands up, and I'm like, it's his spleen doing and he always goes to the pool because he shores. And Jed used to do it too as a kid. He always to water. But I often find my partner just sitting out the back staring at the pool, and I'm like, what are you looking at? And he's just like, oh, I don't know. He's just like literally just looking at the pool. I'm like, weirdo.
Shores.
Yeah.
Both
shores.
Brandy and I are shores.
Yeah,
We
we're
get
both
it.
shores. We get that. We feel that.
Yeah, I'm just like,
Yeah.
I don't get it. But I'm not supposed to.
I have like one of my manifestor clients gave me a water feature thing, and he didn't even know I was shores. And it's like sitting on my desk. I'm Shores Artificial, but I literally just like stare at it, this little plastic water feature. It's so weird.
Yeah, it's interesting because the kids, like, they get active. Whereas my partner, he's like, yeah, he's like the observer. He's just like kicking back, looking at the water, and the kids are like busy, and I'm like the projector that can see, like, oh, one of these kids is going to drown, or something, like something's going to happen here. But yeah, I think it's a cool, like it's not so important for their kids to understand their environment, but especially if the boys are sick, I'll definitely take them to a shore or put them near a shore, or cultivate some sort of shore environment for them, just to nourish that body. I just think it helps them recover quicker for some reason.
Oh, fuck. You know what that just made me think of? When my husband was sick, I like shoved him in his bedroom, which is like a cave. And he kept telling me, I feel so much better when I'm in the living room, and he's valleys.
Oh. I love these moments of like,
oh shit. That like sacral sound that you made when you just realized that.
Yeah. We're gonna get that one in slow-mo. My partner does it though.
Just layers of awareness.
Yeah, like if he's sick, he'll be like, oh, I just feel like going for a drive. And he just wants to be like on the road, just going from one town to another. Like he literally drives down to the next town, which is 15 minutes away, and stares at the lake. And it's just so nourishing for him. Yeah, it's cool to watch, really. Brandy. Brain's like having like a can't believe that.
With all the knowledge I have of human design, you would think I would have not shoved my Valley's husband in a cave to heal.
Get in your healing cave.
I gotta tell him. I can't wait to tell him. Anyways.
Now that he's in the human design rabbit hole.
Yeah, he's on this kick too. He'll be like, Ross says, because he's been
like, welcome to the cult.
To lectures, he's like finally like projecting into human design, and he's like, Ross says da 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 da, and I'm like, oh yeah, here we go.
Here we go with the Ross says.
Here we go with the Ross says.
I love
She'll send me voice notes of like recording him without him knowing, and he's going off on a tangent.
Do the raw quotes, yeah.
And then I'm like, wait a minute, I don't know if this is a good idea. I'm gonna have a projector who is very aware of human design, like around me all the time, guiding me. I don't know if I want that.
Yeah. There's kind of like there's this nicety, like when your partner, like Jono's got no idea about design. He tries, and he'll be like, wait, what's that bit again? Or what's Geordie again? Or like he tries, but he really it's just like it doesn't come into his world, which is fine because I watch and observe him. He naturally lives his design, and it's me that is usually in my not self, like trying to give advice, like you just do it this way, or I can see a different way, you know. But yeah, there's this nicety of him not knowing about design.
yeah, that's kind of how Teresa's husband is.
Oh yeah, he's I mean, he's a 3/6 emotional MG with innocence motivation. He's like the only innocence motivation person I've met that's pretty much in his motivation. I mean, we were talking about it the other day, and he did realize like, oh, there's a difference here when it comes to like his business and that kind of stuff. But he's just really in his design. So I figure if you're going to be in relationship with somebody and you're as nerdy about design as we are, we're going to end up being with people that are, you know, in their design naturally, at least.
Yeah. And it helps to know, like, because I literally just ask yes or no questions at him now, like, and I just get, I literally get like a sacral answer, and I can see when he's gone up to his mind about things, and I always just am like, what's your gut say? What's your gut say? Like, there's language that we can use with them that doesn't have to be like, what does your sacral authority say? Like, yeah, cool.
Love it. Well, my voice is giving out now, so
there we go.
It's like we're done.
My brain's hungry. I'm like, God, it must be getting towards lunchtime.
My husband made pizza right before. He's like, oh, you can just eat this before. It was like fresh hot out of the oven. I was like,
really?
No, I will eat it after. It will be cold, man. All right.
All
Well,
right.
thank
All
you.
right, bye everyone. Thanks for joining us, Amy.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.